Hey everybody, John Vorhaus here, back with another chapter of the comic toolbox, How to Be Funny Even If You're Not. In fact, not just any chapter, but one chapter, Chapter 1. Let's go. Chapter 1, Comedy is Truth and Pain. When I was 12 years old, I fell in love with Leslie Parker. She was cute and smart, with blonde hair and bangs, and a smile that made my head sweat. All through 7th grade, through lunch hours and band practice and the first yearning boy-girl parties of my aggrieved adolescence, I mooned after that girl as only a hormonally enraged lunatic in the throes of puppy love can moon. I was a sad case. And then one day during math class, while 30 sweaty youngsters in bell-bottom pants and let-it-all-hang-out t-shirts pondered the imponderable of pie, Leslie Parker mentioned in passing that she and her family were moving away. My world imploded like a dark star. The amputation of a cherished body part could not have hurt me more. My hand shot into the air. The teacher, Mr. Desjardins, ignored me. He did that a lot because I think I was always asking vexing questions like, why can't you divide by 0? And what is the square root of -1? I waved my hand like an idiot, trying to get his attention. No go. 10 minutes passed and Leslie Parker's stunning revelation faded from everybody's mind but mine. At last, just before the bell, Mr. Desjardins casts a reluctant nod my way. I stand up. Pathetically and wildly inappropriately, I blurt out, Leslie, where are you moving and why? By which, of course, I meant, don't leave me. There was sudden, stunned silence, for I had committed the cardinal sin of 7th grade. In a classic act of bad timing, I had revealed my feelings. In the next instant, everyone burst out laughing. Even Mr. Desjardins, that sadist, smothered a chortle in his shirt cuff. Let me tell you that the instant is etched in my memory like acid on a photographic plate, the single most painful and humiliating moment of my life up to that point. The last such moment? Oh, would that it were so. Remind me someday to tell you about the college co-ed shower fiasco. And I'll never forget what Mr. Desjardins said as my classmates' laughter rang in my ears, and Leslie Parker looked at me like roadkill. They're not laughing at you, Mr. Vorhaus. They're laughing with you. He was lying, of course. They were laughing at me. All those little monsters were just taking ghoulish delight in my shame. And why? Because they knew in their tiny, insecure, prepubescent hearts that, though I was the one who had stepped on the landmine this time, it could have been any one of them. And so, in one single, heartbreaking and mortifying instant, I discovered a fundamental rule of humor, though it was many years and many years of therapy before I recognized it as such. Here it comes. Comedy is truth and pain. I'll repeat it for you bookstore browsers who are just grazing here to see if this tome is your cup of cranial tea. Comedy is truth and pain. When I debased myself before Leslie Parker, I experienced the truth of love and the pain of love lost. When a clown catches a pie in the face, it's truth and pain. You fear for the poor clown, all covered in custard, and you also realize that it could have been you, sort of a there but for the grace of pie go I kind of thing. Traveling salesman jokes, truth and pain. The truth is the salesman always wants something, and the pain is he's never going to get it. In fact, almost every dirty joke rests on truth and pain because sex is a harrowing experience that we all share. Well, with the possible exception of one Willard McGilvery, who was even more pathetic than I was in 7th grade and who grew up to be a Benedictine monk. I wonder if Willard's reading this book. Hello, Willard. The truth is that relations between the sexes are problematic. The pain is that we have to deal with the problems if we want the rewards. Consider this joke. Adam says to God, God, why did you make women so soft? God says, so that you will like them. Adam says, God, why did you make women so warm and cuddly? God says, so that you will like them. Adam says to God, but God, why did you make them so stupid? God says, so that they will like you. This joke takes equal shots at the attitudes of both men and women. It makes men look bad, it makes women look bad. But behind all that, there's this shared common experience. We're all human, we all have gender, and we're all in this ridiculous soup together. That's truth, that's pain, and that's what makes a joke jump. In a classic example of I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball gets a job in a candy factory where the conveyor belt suddenly starts going faster and faster, leaving poor Lucy desperately stuffing candy in her mouth, trying to stay ahead of the belt. What's the truth? That situations can get out of hand. And the pain? We pay for our failures. Even greeting cards boil down to truth and pain. I'll bet you think this envelope is too small for a present, says the cover of the card, and inside, well, you're right. That's truth, I'm cheap, and that's pain, so you lose. My grandfather used to tell this joke. A bunch of men are standing outside the pearly gates waiting to get into heaven. St. Peter approaches and says, all you men who were henpecked by your wives during your lives, go to the left wall. All you men who weren't henpecked, go to the right wall. All the men go to the left wall except one timid little old man who goes to the right wall. St. Peter crosses to this little old man and says, all those other men were henpecked in their lives. They went to the left wall. How come you went to the right wall? Says the little old man, my wife told me to. Truth and pain. The truth is that some men sometimes are henpecked, and the pain is that some men sometimes are stuck with it. You don't have to be a stand-up comic or even a comic writer to use the tool of truth and pain. If you were giving an after-dinner speech, for example, you could start your talk with something that acknowledges the truth and pain of the situation. I know you're all anxious to get up and stretch after that long meal, so I will try to be brief. Thank you. Good night. The truth is that speeches run long, and the pain is that audiences get bored. The savvy speech maker cops to this reality. For reasons we'll discuss later, you often don't have to tell a joke to get a laugh. Sometimes you just have to tell the truth. Sadly, politically incorrect humor, like sexist or racist jokes, also trade on truth and pain. Let's see if I can show you what I mean without offending anyone. Suppose there's a group called the East Siders and a rival group called the West Siders, and these groups tell jokes about each other. From the East Siders, you might hear a line like, if a West Side couple divorces, are they still cousins? The East Siders, as a group, hold in common the truth that West Siders are venal or immoral or stupid. The common pain is that we have to put up with them. I won't press the point, since I have no desire to teach racists or sexists how to better practice their craft. Suffice it to say that any human experience, no matter how large or how small, can be made to be funny, if its truth and its pain are readily identifiable to the target audience. In television situation comedies, for example, you'll hear many more jokes about body parts than about sacred texts, because most viewers, and I'm willing to bet on this, know more about butt cracks than about the Bhagavad Gita. Here's a joke that a lot of people don't get. How many solipsists does it take to change a light bulb? Who wants to know? The joke is only funny, and then only barely, if you know that a solipsist believes in nothing but his own existence and is so forever and always alone in the world. When you throw a joke like this at an unsuspecting audience, you make them work far too hard to discover its truth and pain. By the time they sort it all out, if indeed they ever do, the moment has passed and the joke is no longer funny. The difference between a class clown and a class nerd is the class clown tells jokes that everyone gets, while the class nerd tells jokes that only he gets. Comedy, thus, is not just truth and pain, but universal, or at least general, truth and pain. But wait, there's more. We know from the commutative property of addition that if comedy equals truth plus pain, then truth plus pain equals comedy as well. See, I learned something in 7th grade math beyond the fact that love makes you stupid. So if you're dying to be funny, even if you're not, simply pick a situation and seek to sum up its truth and pain. Any situation will work. A trip to the dentist, a family vacation, getting money from an ATM, doing your taxes, reading this book, cramming for an exam. Anything. Anything. Because every situation has at least some implied truth and pain. Suppose you're studying for a big test. The truth is it's important to pass. The pain is you're not prepared. The joke that encompasses this truth and pain, using the tool of exaggeration, which we'll discuss later, might be something like, I'm such a lousy student I can't even pass a blood test. See how easy? Okay, I know, it's not that easy. After all, if everything you needed to know about comedy were right here in Chapter 1, then you could read this whole old book standing in the checkout line, and I would be out a not inconsiderable royalty. Also, let's not kid ourselves. This book won't make you funny, not by itself. That'll only happen if you do a lot of work along the way. And it won't happen overnight. No reason why it should. Look at it this way. Suppose you wanted to be a wood carver, and someone told you there was a thing called an adze. Just great for carving wood. Wow, you'd say, an adze, imagine that. Just knowing that the thing exists, of course, gives you no clue how to use it. And further, knowing how to use it doesn't mean you're going to carve a teak masterpiece on the first try. You have to learn to crawl, to coin a phrase, before you can pitch forward on your face.